Morgantown, Indiana, at the ranch house.
Andrew, this is a Tennessee walking horse here, and when you come up to a horse, okay, you never want to come up behind the horse, because if it doesn't know you're there, it'll kick, okay? You also don't just want to come up and just grab a horse on its rear end if it doesn't know you're there, because it'll kick also, and you can get hurt, okay? So you want to come up, you want to touch the horse up here, you want to make sure it's making eye contact with you, see that? And then you rub your hand back, rub around its leg, and that way, see, it's not twitching on me, okay? And it's giving me its leg, and it's real calm, see that? But if you come up and you just grab a hold of the horse, then it doesn't know. The other thing you want to do, when you come up near a horse and you're walking along the horse, don't walk out like this away from the horse, because if it kicks, it has more power. But if you're up close and it kicks, it doesn't have as much power. It can't hurt you as easily, okay? And you want to be real gentle when you go underneath their bellies and up around the inside of their legs here, because see, if they don't know you're there, that'll make them nervous too, okay? So Pepper here is a 15-year-old Tennessee Walker. All right, that's a gaited horse, and she has a real nice trot, and she's real smooth to ride because her backbone's real wide. Okay, and she the way she walks real smooth.
What does it eat?
Well, horses eat hay, and they like a good hay mix with some alfalfa in it. And you don't want to give them too much of the alfalfa; it can make their bellies hurt. But they like the hay, and they like grass, field grass. Okay, that's like out there in the pastures and stuff. They like to eat that, and it's very good for the digestive system to eat that, because as they're chewing at the grass, even though it looks like, you might look at that and say, "Wow, how are they going to get that out of the ground like that?" You know. But what they're doing is it's causing enzymes in their stomach to start working, so the digestion process is better for them. So when you're stabling, like in wintertime right now, there's not a lot of grass up here in Indiana. When we put them in the stables, we give them a supplement, you know, and the supplement has different things in it, you know, like oats and corn and different, you know, types of vegetables that's been dried out, that can be used for them to help them digest. Also, it gives them energy, because they need so much energy a day. Okay. The other thing about horses, when they're eating too, is they need water. Okay. They need a lot of water, and they'll get thirsty. Now they can go quite a while without a drink. Okay. But at the same time, once you've been working them, and you'll see when we ride after a while, they'll start sweating. And when they start sweating like that, they're losing that water, and they'll need that water replaced in them. Now in the summertime, we do things like give them salt blocks, little blocks of salt, and they'll lick that, and that helps them hold the moisture in so that it doesn't just run out on them. So that's quick. And in the wintertime, you don't need to do that as much. So, you wanted to ask me about the weight?
Yeah.
Yeah. This horse here weighs almost 1,200 pounds. Okay, and the other horse we'll look at in a little bit, Dixon over there, he weighs just a little bit less, but average weight for a horse is anywhere from 900 to 1,200 pounds, depending on if you get into some big draft horses and stuff, and they can get pretty heavy. They can get up around 2,000 pounds. But a gaited horse like this, a walking horse, weighs around normally around 1,100, 1,200 pounds. A horse like this, around 1,200 pounds, can carry about 1/3 of its body weight. Okay, 2 ways of figuring that out. You can figure out its weight and do a division there, or you can also measure what we would call a knee on us. This is called a knock on a horse. Okay, and you measure that, and you can do a calculation from that, and you can figure out about how much weight they carry. So when you go to get on a horse, you got to remember how much does the saddle weigh, the tack that you're using, the reins, and the halter, and also your body weight. And then if you put like saddlebags on for a trail ride, or if you decide, sometimes when you want to be a cowboy, you want to put your rifle on there or something, then you got to know that weight, and you can figure that out. Now when they're pulling, like if they pull a wagon or they pull a carriage or something, they can pull almost 3 times their weight. So she may only be able to carry about 300 pounds, 400 pounds, but she can pull about 3,000 pounds.
Okay, how about we go look at the other horse?
Sure, let's go look at Dixon. Now with Dixon here, let me get a halter for Dixon. And I'm going to show you how we put a halter and a bit on. And the halter and the bit, this is a halter here, okay? But we're going to put a halter on that holds the bit, and the bit will go in the horse's mouth back here, just behind the tree. If you want to hold the halter a second, I'll show you his mouth. Dixon's 5-year-old. He's called a gelding, and that's because he's not able to father any children, okay? Any what they call colts, okay, and horse children. And that's because when they're able to do that, they're called studs, and they get very wild, and you got to be very careful with them because you can get hurt. So they will cut them so they can't do that, and that calms them down. But if you look in Dixon's mouth, you can see his teeth. You see how they're made? And you see right here at the sides that there's a gap back here. And that bit will go right back here in this gap, and will sit in his mouth like that.
Is the gap natural, or is it something that...
Yes, that's natural. That's made. There's a crunching tooth there, but then back in here, there's no teeth. And that's the bit will go back in here, and it holds up in here, and kind of makes them smile. And when they smile up like that, then you're able to use the reins to steer the horse and to make the horse do what you want. So here's how we put the halter on here. We take it out here, and these are little bumpers we put on this one, because you see how Dixon keeps trying to chew on your coat there? He's really not chewing. He's using his mouth, and he's tasting what he can taste. His teeth aren't actually opening, you see. Okay? But what we do is he'll chew on the bit. So what we do is we put these little bumpers on, these little rubber bumpers, and that keeps his mouth from doing that, okay? So what we do is we're going to take this up like this. Dixon's very interested in your coat. And that's because he wants to know what your coat's all about. He's trying to understand everything going on right now. Okay? And they learn a lot by their... See how he put that in his mouth?
Yeah.
And then we put that over that ear. This side over this ear. And he don't like his ears touched. Some horses are more gentle on that. Dixon does not like his ears messed with. And that's because they're very sensitive. Okay? Sound is very important to them. Like he's hearing things around him right now. He's got his ears back to listen.
Jonathan,
let's
look at here. She's going to buckle this horse up here.
Yes, sir. That's putting on the saddle. Tell him what you're doing, Jesse.
I'm saddling the horse.
Go through the procedure on saddling that horse.
We got to put this saddle blanket on, and then we've got to put the saddle pad on, and then we've got to put the saddle on. And it's kind of like doing a tie and sewing at the same time. You've got to...
The pad's on straight. You gotta get the pad on straight.
Let's take a picture of me.
You will win.
White thing. Horse, Andrew.
Now take off. Good.
I'm tying the saddle down. I don't know what to call it. Fixing it so you can ride in and it won't slide around and fall off.
What's that strap called, Jesse?
A Latigo strap.
A Latigo strap. A necktie. I don't really want you to put that on, so they'll take in a lot of air and push their belly out. Okay, that's why she's so sensitive right now. And you got to kind of tap them a little bit, let them know you're going to do that. But as we get to riding a little bit, then they will. She'll stop that and she'll suck in. What she does will re-tighten again. What do you have? You know, what number of holes down? Let's hop over.
3. Go on the third hole.
Watch out.
Hey, I got another question. What about it shedding?
Yeah, the shedding on a horse, first of all, a horse has a summer coat and a winter coat, okay? And it's based on the sunlight and the heat, all right? And what happens is when it's during the summertime in the sun, the horse is totally shed out, it's real smooth, okay? But as the fall starts coming, see her breathe in? She breathed in on me. That's why I was able to pull that tight I was telling you about. But anyway, so when the fall starts coming on and the sun starts shifting further south and we're going to go into a winter season, well, she starts putting on a thicker coat. So she sheds out a summer coat and she starts putting on thicker. Now, because she's in the stable, and the stable here is staying around 40-some degrees, she's already shedding her winter coat out a little early this year. Okay? But in a normal thing, if she was outside, she wouldn't shed her winter coat out for another month or so. Okay? And she'll shed that off for about another month and a half. 2 months and she'll get real thin looking again. Okay? They kind of look like yaks. You know what a yak looks like? Real fuzzy and furry and everything, keeps them real warm. So That's what you're seeing happen there. Now on the necktie, we'll take that out here. We'll take it through, and you'll see why it's called necktie here in just a second. Pull that through there, up into here. You see why we call that a necktie? See that? Now that I've got that tied to the necktie, I can take a hold of the Latigo right here. She's still trying to blow out. She'll pull in a second. Help her out a little bit here. Watch it. See how much of that we just pulled? Tighten that up. Tighten that down. Up. Back in. And in a little bit we'll retighten. Put the stirrup down. And then she's ready to ride right there. Okay? And this thing here is called a flank cinch. Okay? And what that does is it keeps the saddle, if you were going down a hill real steep or she go to buck for some reason, from flipping up this way and flipping you over, this will hold it. So we'll tighten this up. And it's hooked on both sides. And that way it won't come off, okay? And on the saddle you've got some saddle pads, and that's just to make it a comfortable ride when you're out, especially trail riding. It's real nice, and you got all types of little things to hook things on. Like she, if we were out trail riding, I'd have a breast strap on her. It would come all the way around here, hooks up underneath here to this. This is called the girth, okay? And it hooks to that, and that way the saddle won't shift backwards while we're going up hills and stuff, and it holds right in place, okay? But when we're riding indoors like this, we don't put all that, okay? It's a whole lot of work. So, Pepper is ready. We've got to throw a halter on her, a bit in her mouth, and a rein, and you will find out that Pepper neck reins. Dixon doesn't, Pepper does. Dixon, you have to use his bit, and it's called plow reining. You got to move his head with the bit. Pepper, you lay the rein over the neck if you want to go right, and over the neck this way if you want to go left. Okay? So let's work on getting a halter on her in a bit. 2 Tennessee Walkers. Walkers of paint. That there is a American paint horse, registered American paint horse, and it's called a Grilla Overo. And the Overo means the gray on the white. The Grilla means if that horse, when that horse sheds out in the summer, it'll have zebra stripes all over.
Yeah.
And it's called mouse hair running down the back.
Now, do they? I suspect they actually enjoy you come and get them, take them up. Yeah. What do they do to make you?
Some people. How long has been people riding them?
Well, people have been riding horses for thousands and thousands of years. Horses are great animals to use to move heavy objects, like I was telling you a little bit ago about the weight they can pull. Also for riding distances, they obviously save our legs from having to walk that far. Until the 1900s, and you remember what they invented in the 1900s, early 1900s?
Cars?
Yeah, and so matter of fact, we still use the word horse in our cars, you know that? We talk about the motion, we talk about how much horsepower they have. That means how many horses it would take to pull or make that we use our vehicles for. So up until the early 1900s, horses were the main mode of transportation for men.
Some people think that horses evolved from other animals.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The Bible tells us in Genesis 1 that God created everything and He made each thing of its own kind. And He told us that the kind was to be after kind. Whether it's horses, dogs, cattle, or even man. He wants man to be after their own kind. He separated man by race so that He could let us be after our own kind, and He's done the same thing with the horses, you see. So, no, horses didn't evolve. God made horses, just like He made you and I, and like He made other men around and other peoples around the globe, and He made us all individual and distinct so that we could enjoy and love our heritage. And our heritage is the white Christian heritage, and that's what we're after, to see our white brethren, kindred brethren across the globe, come to the truth to love their brethren and their people.
Well, thanks, Pastor Jonathan Harness, for coming here and showing us. And I hope you people enjoyed watching the stuff. Tune in next week. Bye!